Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is our second video and this will be about character controller. So most of the games that you will make in Unity or in any other game engine would require you to design a character controller script. Character controller script basically defines how the user will control the player. So you can give many characteristics to a player like move, jump, crouch, attack and many more. But in this video we'll focus on how to get our player moving in the game using the keys W, A, S and D. So boot up Unity and let's get started. So first let's make a ground by right clicking in the hierarchy panel, selecting plane from the 3D objects option. We will scale it up and rename it to player. Now we need a player, so we will use a capsule as a player for now. Right click in the hierarchy panel and select capsule. Rename it to player and move it just above the ground. Now we need to change the color of our player by creating a new material. So right click in the project panel, select create and select material. Rename it to player. Now to assign it to our player, just drag and drop it above our player in the scene view. Now to change the color of our player, select the player material and change the color to anything you like. I am going to go with a bright red. Now there are many ways to give our player some movements. In fact, there are character controller scripts available online that you can use. We are going to use a fairly simple method. For that, we need to add a character controller component to our player. So select our player. Click on add component at the bottom of the inspector panel. Search for character controller and select it. Now, character controller has a public function move, which is very handy when it comes to giving our player some movements. So we need a custom script to call this function. So to create a new script, select our player. Click on add component and give the script a name. I am going to call mine movement controller. Now double click on it in the project panel to open up it in Visual Studios. Now don't worry if you are not familiar with coding in C#. You will understand everything further along this series. And feel free to ask doubts in the comment section as well as on our social medias. Now, when you open the script, you will see two functions, start and update. Start function is called just before the game starts and update function is called once every frame. So how many times the update function is called depends upon the frame rate of your device. Now, when we call the move function, we need our script to know which character controller we are talking about. So we need a reference to our character controller component. So public character controller, give it a name, we'll call it controller. And we will need a variable to control the speed of our player. So public float speed and we will give it a default value of 12. It is public because then we can edit it in the inspector panel in Unity. Now we need a velocity vector to pass it to the move function. Now let's jump into the update function and get some inputs. So float x is equal to input.getAxis horizontal and float z is equal to input.getY get access vertically. So this bit of code just assigns the value -1 or +1 to the variables x and z based on the keyboard inputs. So if we press A, x would be -1, if we press D, x would be +1, and similarly if we hit W, z would be +1, and if we hit S, z would be -1. So velocity is equal to transform.right times x plus transform.forward times z. Now as we have our velocity functions, let's pass it into the move function. So controller.move and give it velocity times speed. So we are all done. So hit Ctrl S to save the script and head back into Unity. So here let's first assign the character controller component to our script, otherwise it will throw an error. You can do that by selecting our player, dragging the character controller component to the controller variable slot in the script. So we are all done. Hit play and you see we can move our player using the keys W, A, S and D. Also, we can control the speed of our player from the inspector panel. So play with it and we will see you next week. So don't forget to hit like, share and subscribe. Peace out.